So I'm going to start by mobilising the spine and activating the glutes. You need a strong butt to run far. Tilt your pelvis, feel your tailbone lift, feel the next vertebrae lift, the next one, squeeze your bottom. How much pelvic tilt can you keep? And keep the ribs down. Okay, so the weight should be in the shoulders. We've got the ribs pushing down into the belly, so as we practiced before, not this shape to your back, this shape, ribs down. Feet flat on the floor, do not lift your toes. Press against your big toe, little toe, and now really push against your heels. I want to feel as if you're trying to slide your body away from your feet. Don't slide it, feel as if you can. Okay, I'm going to get you to breathe in, squeeze, squeeze your bottom, breathe out, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Breathe in, squeeze, 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 breathe out, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. So we're trying to keep as much pelvic tilt as we can. Although the big toe and little toe are on the floor, you're really pushing against the heel. We're trying to get the bottom to work and keep the ribs down. Now keep both feet on the floor, but push into one foot as hard as you can. Push into the heel, keep the squeezing going. Tilt the pelvis as much as you can. Breathe out, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. The more you tilt the pelvis with the tailbone up, hip bones down and ribs down, the more the weight goes, the more the work goes into the glutes. Change legs. Push into one foot as hard as you can. Breathe in, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Breathe out, squeeze. You're squeezing your bottom. 2 more breaths. We've done roughly about 12 breaths in total. Hopefully you've got a bit of feeling in your bottom. Roll on down. Hopefully the glutes are activated. Lower abs straight into hip strength as well. Single leg stretch. Pull the knee into chest. Kick the leg out just off the floor. Pull the other knee into chest. Kick the leg out just off the floor. So if you remember with Pilates, we keep the back of the ribs pushing down, and we initiate that by pushing the front rib cage down into the core. If you can advance this move, let go of your leg. Breathe out, kick. Breathe in, reset. Now start to push into your heel. So I don't know if you can see with my feet, I'm pushing my heel away and pulling my toes up towards me. Getting a bit of a calf stretch. Pull your toes towards you as hard as you can. Breathe out, extend. Breathe in, reset. Breathe out, extend. Breathe in, reset. Can you try and work at the speed of your breath? And what you're trying to do is make sure your back is not arching off the floor. We've discussed this in the Pilates setup video. So really trying to stretch out at the hip. Each time you push out, should be starting to go into your abs. Don't forget, if it's going into your back, you need to hold the knee in and extend one leg at a time. One more. Reset. Bring the feet down. Have a rest if you need to. Your next move, scissors. I want you to slide one leg away, pull it up towards you. If you can add an upper body lift, add an upper body lift. And pull in, 2, 3, 4, 5, lower, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, 5, lower. You can do this with your head on the floor, but if your hamstrings are tight, the chances are your knees will be bent and it'll be easier to reach your leg. Now, try and push your tailbone down to the floor. As soon as your bottom lifts up off the floor, your back is arching the wrong way, forward flexion, and you're stretching your back. You don't need to stretch your back. You need to stretch in your hamstrings. The upper body lift will create a little bit of work in the upper abs, but if you want just a stretch, lower it down. So this is not a kick. This is a controlled pull, 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 pull. I'm pulling in from the abs. Extend out. Pull, 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 pull. Lower down. Extend out. Pull. So what are you working with? Upper body lifted or upper body on the floor? You've got 4 more. I'm going for the maximum lift that I can. Now watch the detail in the feet. I'm pulling my toes towards me again, kicking into the heel, so I get a bit of a calf stretch, stretch behind the knee. And you want your leg as straight as possible rather than having to get your face to your leg. Next move, strengthening the medial glute, the side of the hip. So when we lie in this move called the clam, you need to bring, the setup's really important, so just pause a moment. Line your arm here. There's different setups, but we're going for this one because it's best for most shoulders. Bring your knees right up to your hip level. That's going to look after your back. And then very important, I need you to pull your waist up off the floor so that your knees are pretty level, or your top knees may be slightly in front of your bottom knee. Pull your waist up off the floor. When you lift this top knee as high as you can, do not roll back to face the ceiling. You need this top shoulder over your bottom shoulder and this bottom hip, this top hip right over your hip. Now I know we spent ages setting up, but you get the most from it. So waist up, ribs down, knee as high as you can. Feet together. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out. Now squeeze your bottom. You're pressing your knee as close to the ceiling as you can, and there's no movement in my hip. So my hip bones are facing forward towards the side wall. They're not tilted up to ceiling at all. Are you pulling your waist as high as you can away from the floor? Feel how it changes the move. Out. 2, 3, 4. Squeeze your bottom and press the knee. It's a tiny move. Can you see? You're only moving an inch or so. Breathe. Keep the ribs down here and the ribs lifted here. Should be starting to kick in. 2, 3, 4. Breathe out. So we're working for roughly about 12 breaths again. I'm going to do 2 more. You can always pause the video and do this for longer. Our next move is a side kick. So you need both feet in front of you. Just take a moment. A lot of people lie in a straight line, feet in front of you. We're going to just work in one direction because it's easier to coach the pelvis in the right position. So waist is off the floor, hand on floor for balance. Foot doesn't need to lift high for this. You want it in line with your hip. Can you see I'm kicking into my heel and you're bringing your leg as far forward as you can. Pause here. Detail. Pull your tailbone backwards. Push your tailbone back. Lift your waist and pull your hip as high as you can. I want you to kick into your foot. Breathe in. 2, 3, 4. Breathe out. 2, 3, 4. Keep lifting your waist. Out. You should get some work going on in your hip. Keep pulling your waist up and maybe getting a stretch behind the knee for your hamstring stretch. So it's not a kick, it's a pull. Really try and push your hip upwards and your tailbone backwards, almost like you're trying to achieve a curve like in a gymnastic spine. Now point your toe. Pull your leg as far back behind you as you can, and we need to lose the gymnastic curl to the spine. So my foot's about hip width apart. I'm going to tuck my tailbone forward and under, and you should start to feel a stretch in the hip. So we're stretching the hip and strengthening the back of the back of the thigh, hamstring and glute. Waist off the floor. Double check. Ribs are down. Really important. Ribs are down. Tailbone forward. Now you can kick back. Breathe in. 2, 3, 4. Breathe out. How still can you keep your hips? How high can you keep your waist? I'm pressing my thigh backwards. It's a controlled push rather than a kick and pulse. Squeeze your bottom. Look out your knee. Let's do 2 more deep breaths. Is your waist lifted? Don't worry if you're not getting all of these coaching points, but they just help you get more from your workout. Bring the leg forward. Let's take a little bit of a stretch. So bend the knees. Come up to seated. I want you to grab your ankles. We're going to try and take a little bit of a release for the hip. If for any reason your knees aren't comfortable with this, extend the legs in front and do exactly the same move. So you're going to relax the shoulders and push the ribcage down into the tummy and lift the arm up towards the back of the ear. Just pause a moment here. Pull both shoulder blades down your back, really important. Push all of the ribs down into the belly. And now I'm going to use my arm to pull myself as far over to the side as I can and reset. Let's do 5 more. I want you to lift up and over this hip bone. So lift up and over your hip bone, breathe out, pull the shoulders down the back, breathe in and reset. Breathe out, tip over. So you've got 3 more. You shouldn't be working in knee pain. So if you need to reduce the bend to the knees, you can. Often if you've got tight hips, you'll feel this is almost impossible to do. But persevere with it, you will get there. You might need to have someone to hold your feet down to start with. 1 more. Okay, take a seat with your feet as wide apart as you can. I want you to check you're sitting bolt upright. So if I just show you from the side, I need you to make sure you've not tucked your tailbone forward and you're not sitting on your coccyx. So when your feet are wide apart, you need to shuffle so you're sitting right up on your sit bones. It might help to sit on a cushion, especially if your hamstrings are tight. Also know that you can also bend your knees as well. So play around with this before you get going. Sit on a cushion if your hamstrings are tight, which they likely will be if you do a lot of running, or bend your knees. But you need to be right on the top of your sit bones to protect the lower spine. So we're going to try and get nutrition to the spine. I want you to lengthen your spine so you've got a gap between each vertebrae. And we're going to work on posture. When you're running, you need to learn to run as upright as possible rather than tip forward. So let's use the core. Draw the core inwards. Draw the pelvic floor upwards. Relax your shoulders down, otherwise you're going to feel this in your neck. I want you to turn as far one way as you can and as far the other way as you can. If this does go into neck or shoulders, just change your hand position. Turn as far one way as you can and as far the other way as you can. I want you to push the crown of your head to the ceiling. I want you to get a gap between each vertebra and keep sitting as tall as you can. I want you to squeeze your shoulder blades together. Feel like you've got great posture like you'd see in a dancer. How much rotation can you get? How tall can you sit? Do you need to take this light version, or can you work with your arms wide? Squeeze your shoulder blades as close together as you can. 1 more. Sitting as bolt upright as possible. Coming out of it. So let's start to reverse the moves. Take the feet to the other side of the body. This is my tight side, so I'll see how I do. You're grabbing your ankle. Your feet are roughly in line with your bottom. Remember, if your knees hurt, you're going to have both legs stretched out in front of you, as straight as you can manage, sitting on the sit bones. Pull the shoulder blades down the back. Breathe in, and as you breathe out, see how far over you can stretch with the side of the body. Breathe out to lower. Pull the shoulders down the back. Now I'm gently turning away from my feet to try and deepen the stretch. If you feel it in the neck, it means you're shrugging your shoulders or rounding your shoulders. Learn to draw the shoulder blades close together. Learn to pull the shoulders down the back. Good work. Okay, we're coming down onto the side, working with climb on the other side. Let's go through this sequence. So, remember, bring the knees all the way up in line with the hips. Pull the waist up off the floor and get the head comfortable. Option, you can pop a cushion under your head if you prefer. Now, you're lifting your knee as high as you can, but check this top hip hasn't rolled back at all. If you had your back against the wall, you'd be able to feel and make sure the bottom wasn't pushing against the wall. So, push the top butt cheek forward, push the ribs down, lift the knee high, lift the waist. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out, 2, 3, 4. Keep pulling the waist as high as you can. Engage the core. And you've got roughly 4 pulses per breath. Think of it as squeezing and pressing the knee towards the ceiling. So we're going for about 8 repetitions here. The further forward you push this top hip, the more you're going to get from the move. So you might even feel that the top hip's slightly in front of the bottom hip. It's all about whatever it takes for you to get the work. I've got 2 more breaths here. And then I'm going straight into the side kick. Both legs in front. Kick into your heel, super important. Pull the toes up towards you. Foot no higher than hip width. Now pull your waist off the floor really firmly and push your tailbone back. And now create space in your hips as if you're pushing this top hip up to the ceiling. Kick forward, so this is the move. 3 pushes, 4 pushes. Now breathe out, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Feel how the moves change when you really try and pull the waist as high off the floor as you can. And really push the tailbone back. Should be starting to work the muscles at the bottom. So getting a bit of a hamstring stretch, might not be overly strong. Two more breaths to take it to 6. And now we take the leg back. Try not to rest if you can help it. Push the leg as far back behind you as you can. Pause. We need to make sure we don't feel anything in the back, and we're using the core as Pilates. So tuck the pelvis under. That means your tailbone is pushing under and forward, and your hip bones are pulling backwards. Now push your ribs down into your belly. Final bit, pull your waist up off the floor. Now press your thigh and your locked out knee backwards. Press it back. 2, 3, 4. Breathe out. 2, 3, 4. Breathe in. 2, 3, 4. Breathe out. 2, 3, 4. 4 more breaths. Pull your waist up. Are you still trying to lock out the knee? 2 more breaths here. Breathe in. 2, 3, 4. Just press the thigh backwards. 1 more time. Let's finish with the Pilates cover. So this is to really, really strengthen your core. 30 seconds of this is worth about 5 minutes of traditional abs work. It's absolutely amazing. So my elbows are directly under my shoulders, and prop yourself up high as if you're reading a magazine or something like this. I quite often see people like this, their elbows are tucked under and they wonder they can't do it, or their arms are very, very wide and they wonder why they can't lift high. Prop yourself up as high as you can. Now if your back doesn't like this, the start position, grab a cushion and put it right under the pelvis so you're already in a lifted position. It'll take all the load out of your back. So we're pushing into the elbows. I'll ditch this, I've got enough movement in my spine. Pull your shoulders down and relax your legs. In a traditional hover, you push against your knees. Today we rest on them only. Now I'm crunching my ribs down in towards my tummy like I'm doing a sit-up. I'm pulling my shoulders down my back, and I'm pushing with my arms, and I'm trying to pull my belly button as high as I can. I'm going to breathe out, lift, lift, lift. Breathe in, lower, lower, lower. Breathe out, lift, lift, lift. So it's like your cat curling through your lower spine. If you're feeling this in your lower back, you need to check, have you got as much pelvic tilt as you can? So you know when a dog tucks its tail between its legs, you're trying to let your pelvis follow that kind of feeling. Tuck your tailbone downwards as if you're trying to tuck it between your legs. If it does carry on hurting your back, you need to not do this move. But if you can, we're going to go for about 12 breaths here. I'm trying to pull my shoulder blades down my back, getting a bit of a judder because I've been lazy and not practiced this for a while. Breathing out, breathing in and lifting. Do not push against your knees. Have a look at the difference. When I push against my knees, my hips come up high. My legs are completely relaxed. 4 more breaths for me. Last one. And you might want to push back into a child's pose if your knees will allow. Knees are wide, toes together. So those simple moves should work on your posture, your core strength, strengthen your glutes. Practice them about 3 times a week if you can.